Welcome to Simple Photopea Projects with instructor Sean Glumace. In today's video, we're going to be going over clipping masks. And clipping masks are very powerful. We can do a lot with them when we're doing photo editing and layout and design. So this is just to go through the simple process of using them and how to build them in Photopea. We're going to be building a bullseye with 4 different images and 4 circles and bringing them together and adding layer effects as well. So we're going to start off with a new document. So we're going to do File, New. And we'll call this Bullseye. In this case, we'll do inches. And we'll do 5 inches by 5 inches. So we'll have a square document. And for the DPI, I'm going to go up a little bit and go to 150 and have a white background. So I'll hit Create. This will open up my canvas. We have our layers and we'll be working in that palette a lot. And we're going to be working with our tools, our ellipse tool. I'll sometimes call it our circle tool as well. So the first thing we need to do is draw a circle. If I select the ellipse tool, it's kind of tough to figure out where the middle of this canvas is. So we can make it a little bit easier by putting some guides in. So we'll do View, Add Guides. And we'll do inches, not pixels, but inches. And we'll do 2.5 by 2.5. And then I'll add a horizontal and vertical guide so we know right where the middle of our layout is. So make sure you have your ellipse tool selected, and any fill color is fine. It's red right now, so that's the default for that I have, but you can pick a different one, black. I'm going to stick with red just because it's easy to see. If I click and start drawing and hold down the Shift key, you'll see I draw a circle in one side, but if I put the Alt key in here, it will draw from the center. So I started by clicking and dragging with the Shift key, so it's constraint, and I threw the Alt key in. I have both held down. I'm going to draw this out and leave myself a margin and let go of the mouse. And we get our shape 1. I'm going to change the name to Circle 1, just so we don't get confused. And now we need to place an image that will go inside of this. And we want to make sure that image comes in above the circle. So the circle is selected in layers. We'll do File, Open in Place. And if you downloaded the sample files for this project, they'll be in a Bullseye project folder. And we've got 4. So we have fire, sand, sky, and water. We'll start with the sand and we'll alternate with the sky as the second one, fire, and water last. So we'll do sand. I can open it or double click. And that places the file. We'll have handles and we can scale this. So I click on one edge and hit the Shift key. I can bring it out. And then the same thing in the bottom left. So now we have a sand and a circle. So the sand is sitting on top of the circle. And with a clipping mask, what we do is whatever fill, image, whatever it may be, we want that to be on top of the shape that we're going to do the clipping mask on. So we'll select the sand. We'll right click. And down here we have clipping mask. And you'll see what happens. You get the little arrow saying that this sand image mask is the circle. That's what that little arrow is. So I can have any shape below here, butterfly, whatever it may be, as long as it's an outline shape and it's vector based. That's why we're using our tool here with all of our shape tools. Whatever that fill is above it, whatever image that is, once we apply the clipping mask to that image, not to the circle, but to the image, it says it uses that circle below. Now let's put some layer effects on this. I want to have a stroke. So if I want to apply a stroke or a drop shadow, Don't apply it to the sand. I may do that as we're going through here. It's a mistake that's common, but we want to select the original object. Then at the bottom we have EFF, layer style or effects. The first thing we're going to do is stroke. You'll see we get a stroke here, 3 point. It's on the outside, so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and we'll make it black. We'll click on the red and select black. Maybe I want it on the inside. I like it better on the inside because we may add a drop shadow. If we want another stroke, and we'll do this on the inside ones, we can add another stroke, but I'm going to do a drop shadow. And you can see the drop shadow appears. I'm going to change the angle to about 110-ish, somewhere right in there, 115. And I'm going to bring the distance down some. So my light is coming from this corner and coming across, and we get a shadow here. We could change the angle on this. One thing I'm going to suggest is play with these. None of this is permanent. We can get rid of them very easily just by hitting the checkbox. You're not damaging any of the images. These are all things that are laying over the image or being part of it that are easy to change. So be creative, try it. There's all kinds of patterns and other things. In an upcoming video, we'll go over the layer styles in more depth. But for this project, we're just using strokes and drop shadows. We'll hit OK. And we now need to draw our next circle to place our next image. But before I do that, I want to make sure I'm above the sand layer. So I'm going to select sand. Then I'll select my ellipse tool. I'll start right in the middle again. I'll hold down the Shift key. If I throw the Alt key in, you can see it starts from the middle. And this looks good. It doesn't have to be perfect. And we'll call this Circle 2. And we want to bring in our next image, so we'll do File, Open and Place. And this time we'll do the sky. I'll double click. And this one does fit, but I'm going to scale it up just a little bit, just to make sure it fills in the whole layout. Now you can move this around. It'll snap to the guides. And I like it. So now I have my sky, my circle. I'll select the sky. I'm going to right click. And I'm going to do clipping mask. And there's our sky. I'm going to put a stroke on this. So I'm going to go into the Circle 2, down to EFF or effects. And I'm going to do stroke. And this time, a little bit smaller. And I'm going to do this on the outside this time. And then over under stroke, I'm going to hit the plus sign. It adds a second stroke. I'm going to do this on the inside. I'm going to change the fill to white. And you can see we have two strokes now. One on the outside, one on the inside. Maybe this one's a little thinner. And we can add even more. If I want another on the outside, I'd have to make it larger. I can keep adding them and doing multiple strokes on this. Now mind you have to go into the image on the inside and out to have that created. If we add a drop shadow, you can see that stroke is overlaying the drop shadow. So I actually have to make the distance a little farther so you can see it. You can see right down here. I increase the distance so it's close to what the back is. I'll hit OK. And that looks good to me. So I'm going to add my third circle. I need to make sure I select sky. Click on it. I have the ellipse tool. I'll hold down the Shift key. Now I'll hold down the Alt key. And we now have our Circle 3. You'll notice I select the Move tool. Sometimes I will do that, or I'll click V on the keyboard. It's a habit of mine from Photoshop and other programs. It doesn't hurt anything. I can always just go back and select the ellipse tool. So I'm going to do a file. We're going to place our next picture. So we'll do open in place. And this time is fire. Now I don't need to scale this. I think it's going to fit nicely in here. So I'll select the fire layer. I'll right click and I'll do a clipping mask. I'm going to select circle 3. I'm going to do a stroke. And this time, go a little bit bigger, but I'm going to go with white. And then I am going to add a drop shadow. But you'll notice the drop shadow is a little bit larger now because it remembered the setting that I had here. So I have to bring the distance in just a little bit and add some depth. We'll hit OK. And we have one more. So make sure we have the fire selected. Otherwise, my next circle is between the two. If I draw my circle 4 above my circle 3, you may not see it because it'll be behind the fire. So I'll click, hold the shift key. I'll throw the alt key in. I'm going to put in the real bullseye here. And we'll call this circle 4. And make sure you name your layers. You'll notice I'm going back and naming them every time I create one. Luckily, the names of the files are coming in and I don't have to change those. But being organized is really key to working in any photo editing program. And the same here, making sure everything is labeled correctly. So let's bring in our last image, file, open in place, and we'll bring in water. Don't have to scale it. I'll right click, apply clipping mask, and we have our water in the middle. Let's say I didn't like where the water was positioned. I go, oh, I want to move it around. If you select the water layer and the move tool, V on the keyboard, and you click, you can actually move around the image within the clipping mask. So I like that better. And we could do the same thing with the fire. Oh. And what's happening here is when I'm selecting, I have the auto select and transform controls tools on. So it's auto selecting whatever's on top. If I click on sand, there's the fire. You can select inside these, but if they're overlapping, it's always going to select with the move tool, the auto select. You could turn this off and then select each of these layers individually. Auto select will always pick what's on top. And you saw a little earlier, I kept getting the water. I usually have auto select on, but in that case, turning it off made it easier for me to select these items. So I'm going to apply a stroke to the inside on the circle here. And we'll make this one black. Make it a little smaller as well. And a drop shadow. And it picked up my last drop shadow, so that looks good. I'm going to stress again, be creative. Try these different ones. You can try the bevel and emboss, and that will start beveling and embossing the edge. You can try a satin. It will apply the satin over it, and you can play with the opacity. There's even an inner glow and an outer glow. You could do a pattern overlay and do patterns on an object here. We'll hit OK, and we have our bullseye finished. So we want to save this out of Photopea. We're going to save as a PSD, so if we have to open it in Photoshop later, we have it. It will download the PSD file to usually your downloads folder. Everything looks good here. I'm happy with it. If you want to see your effects, there's a little toggle here, and it'll show you the effects that are applied to this layer. We can turn them on and off. You can see the stroke disappears. We can also play with the opacity a little and try different things. But in the end, I really wanted to show you the power of the clipping mask and how easy it is to actually apply a shape and mask off an image or another object within it. Now we want to save this file as a JPEG. So we can export as, so file, export. We have all of our standard PNG files, PNG files, JPEGs, GIF files. We can make a PDF if we want to, but we want a JPEG file. So format's JPEG. You can see the whole thing is here. So here's the quality. We'll leave it at 70. It's a small file, perfect. And I'm going to save it, and this will download it. And just to recap real quickly, we saved this at 150 DPI, and that was just really for us to have a file to work on and not make it huge at 300 DPI. The 300 would be if we're doing this for print. 72 DPI would be for web and other screen uses. So we did this at 150 just to have a little bit better quality on screen and still have a file size that's small enough so if you're turning this in as a project or even uploading it somewhere, it's not a huge file. But if this was a print file, we knew it was going to go out to printing, then we would have done this at 300. If it was web, we probably would have just done it at 72. So that's it for this simple project in Photopea. We hope to see you next time.